Crypto is on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, let's kick this thing off. Good morning from Paradise Surfers. My name is Crypto Amaru, joined as always by Nick, the Crypto Hitman, and it is Monday, March 23rd. Happy Monday, guys. What a way to start the week. Just yesterday, it seemed like, man, this war might drag on forever, man. They're going to be targeting the Iranian energy infrastructure, and there'll be retaliation, and we'll be in this quagmire forever, won't we, folks? Wait, never mind. Here comes Trump out of left field, de-escalating, negotiating, and calming the markets, calming the FUD, and causing a God candle on Bitcoin. We love to see it, folks. We're feeling bullish. The bull vibes are back. We got a great show for you guys today. Lot to cover. Pools, tokens pumping. We got news from the trenches. We got some new projects to cover for you guys. I'm telling you, the bull vibes are back. And let's just hope that this de-escalation tweet is the real deal, because I'm getting a little tired of this war. I don't know about you, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, we already see somebody from Iran or some kind of mainstream media from Iran is saying, no, there's no talks happening, but Trump already replied and doubled down, said they happened last night, so I don't know why the mainstream media is not reporting it. I would tend to believe Trump in this situation on whether or not the talks are happening, and the markets seem to really like it. Obviously, S&P 500 absolutely mooned, Bitcoin mooned, and then once Iran came out and said, oh, those talks didn't happen, it gave up some of the gains, but not all the gains, telling you the market doesn't believe the Iranian leadership either. What the market does believe is, well, oil wicked as low as $84. Gold is down 23 or 24% off the high since the Iranian war has begun, and Bitcoin has been outperforming everything during this moment of war. So what are your thoughts on all that? And do you think that Trump is telling the truth, Iran's telling the truth, or you think this is just a momentary pause before the bombs get started again?
Well, here's why I'm feeling so positive about today's event. It's a reminder of the adage that I've been saying for a while, which is, it's Trump's world. We're just living in it. It's Trump's world. We're just living in it, folks. And by that, I mean, he could end this war with a tweet. He could end this war tomorrow. He could end this war by saying, stand down, all objectives achieved. We're good to go. Market's going to be pumping. Now, obviously, Strait of Hormuz, let's see how Iran reacts and do they open that back up. And that is kind of an unknown, to be fair. But regardless, the fact that he, with a single tweet, can essentially cause positivity to come back in the markets. People feel like this war may be ending. The de-escalation's happening. This war is close. I mean, this thing is close to being done, as long as Trump is still playing cards and on board with that. He can end it tomorrow, as we've been saying, folks. So we're in a good spot. I don't believe the Iranian leadership for 1 second, by the way. Who is the leadership? That guy hasn't been heard from for weeks. You're muted, by the way.
This is their number 3 supreme leader here. I think he's dead. And what I saw was just like media or some kind of ministry of war that was saying that conversations weren't happening. Sorry, bud. Maybe you're just not part of the conversations. I don't know. Your leadership is leaving you outside the door, too. It was a Truth Social post right here that really pumped the markets. I'm pleased to report the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenure and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which, misspelling here, will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period. This line right here literally sent oil from $93, $94, $98 a barrel down to $84 in 1 week. That's the power of this man right now, in his words. Subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions, thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump posted on Truth Social with a couple misspellings and all.
I think the misspellings mean it's true. I think it means it's all true. And honestly, look, who are you going to believe here? And obviously, Trump's been known to lie and misdirect, and I mean that is part of being a statesman and his manner of negotiating. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that he's bluffing entirely here and just making it up. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think he completely fabricated that we're having discussions and back channel negotiations. That just wouldn't make sense. So then the question is, do you believe the Iranian leadership? My answer is no, I do not personally. I'm not sure anyone, really should believe them, but I guess you can have your opinions, folks. It's a free world. But regardless, the reason I'm so bullish is it is a reminder that with a tweet, with a couple of orders from the president, this war can really start to wind down, and there's not much anyone else can do about it. So I think we're in a good spot. Is there a few more weeks or days or whatever of bombing? Maybe, probably. We continue to take out the military infrastructure around the Strait of Hormuz. My guess we'd continue to do that. But I think de-escalation is the name of the game here as we look for this war to wind down.
Here's oil prices, $90.58 per barrel currently. A wick down to $84. It is showing $85.93 here on Google. Why is this number so important? Well, historically, if oil stays above $90 per barrel for 3 consecutive months, a recession is underway. Now, I think this is kind of a little bit of a crude metric, pun is definitely intended, because that isn't inflation adjusted. People just use the $90 mark because that's when previous recessions occurred, and there's no really inflation adjustment. It is pretty crazy to see that although inflation and spending power of the dollar continues to go down to the right, crude essentially stays in the same band and the same range for many decades, between $70 to $120 per barrel, fluctuating based on global macros. But nonetheless, if you go with history, you want to be below $90. You don't want to be in $90 or higher for 3 months consecutively, because then the economy has a lot of trouble ahead of it. And we did wick below $90 to $85 just off a single post. So if this war and truly does get resolved, if the Strait of Hormuz gets figured out, if Canada does open back up their resources, wow, I think we can get some very cheap oil. How does oil even cost this much if it can fluctuate so much just with a simple post? I think the true value of oil is probably somewhere in the high 70s. And that means gas prices back below $3, closer to $2 if that all plays out.
I think we've just discovered someone more important for the markets than Michael Saylor, someone more important than Donald J. Trump himself. AJ West is in the house, and he continues to load for the AJ West Strategic Reserve, now having acquired an additional 0.007 of a Bitcoin at the average buy price of 68,500. Good work, man. Good work buying the dip. AJ has an uncanny ability, I've noticed, to really time the bottoms. I feel he's done this a couple times, buying the absolute lows on a move, and lowering the DCA price of his AJ West Strategic Reserve. So good work, my friend. Good work. It's great to see some bull. It's great to see retail, even if there's just like one single retail guy left named AJ West. It's good to see. It's good to see that there's at least one person.
Yeah, Michael Saylor is doing the same thing here, buying another 76.6 million at 74,326 per Bitcoin. AJ West outperforming here. They now hold 762,099 Bitcoin acquired for 57.69 million at an average price of $75,694. MSTR and STRC. My question is, where did they get the $76.6 million? Was it a raise for MicroStrategy, or is the mere fact that he has the stretch ticker in there telling you that's where the money came from?
No, the stretch is and the volatility on the stretch and how that instrument works. It essentially, the volatility, the more people are buying, more people selling, allows them to, it generates money for them essentially, which they turn around and buy the Bitcoin with. So that's been the source of their income, I think, between that and the MSTR sales, that have really allowed them to accumulate, I think, a couple $1 billion worth of Bitcoin in the last few months. So, yeah, the stretch product, we've been talking about it heavily on the show. I'm not sure the rest of the market's really woken up to the potential of it to be a mass accumulator of Bitcoin. But man, it just feels like at some point, and I know there's a lot of hypothecated Bitcoin, essentially paper Bitcoin, that the market makers have, or whomever, ETFs even. But at some point, there is not enough actual real Bitcoin on the blockchain to go around. And we are going to have a genuine supply shock, and we're going to have some more God candles or maybe even Omega candles coming here in 2026.
Yeah, we look at the chart. We do see some nice follow through. A scare last night down to like 67,000, as high as $71,200 today. If you're an Elliott wave theory guy, you could have had 5 waves up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have an ABC correction, A, B, C, and now you're working on another 5 waves up, which is going to put you to $79,000 and beyond for Bitcoin. Is it finally time for the higher lows to play out to the bull side? Is Elliott wave theory going to be correct? And we'll rewrite all along, waiting for this yellow line to cross from below the red line for a bullish formation and a continuation towards $79,000. Only time will tell. And what's crazy is a lot is on the whim of Trump, on the whim of Iran for the short-term momentum. But I'll tell you what, this chart wants to go higher. Will the black swans allow it to do so?
I mean, if you are an agnostic investor, meaning you're just looking across various asset classes, where should I allocate my capital? Should I buy into gold? I mean, it is on a big dip, but damn, it was just at all-time highs and went on like a 3 or 4 year bull run, essentially, is now in a major correction territory, down, I think, 20% off the highs. Should I buy S&P 500? Tech stocks am getting hammered. Maybe I should buy them on the lows. But they're still pretty much at all-time highs, aren't they? Damn. Here's Bitcoin, which since the start of this war has outperformed every single other major asset class and is at a 50% discount to its all-time high, essentially. Or not quite 50%, but it's, you know, you're almost looking at a 2x here, and you'll be back at all-time high. So to me, if I'm an agnostic investor, is there not a I mean, there is not a better investment right now, and look at where all the momentum is. Look at the Bitcoin price performance since the start of this war, compare it to gold, compare it to S&P 500, and if you like momentum trades that are undervalued, that are outperforming everything else, Bitcoin, to me, is clearly the best option.
We got Coinbase at $202. We got Ethereum at $21.86. Had a little panic scare. Look where it stopped, though, guys. Right on the yellow moving average, right on this white line we've had here for months. So I'm just going to extend this. This continues to be a major level for Ethereum for months now. We've been drawing this all the way back to this head and shoulders that we picked out here at the bottom. That's what sent us to our target up there at $4,200. Well, that happened to be damn near the top before this major sell-off. What do you see here? You also see the same thing. Moving average is now crossing the red moving average, getting very close, and the Ethereum chart continues to look very strong. Will the Ethereum outperformance continue for Bitcoin? It is very rare for Ethereum and altcoins to move without Bitcoin doing something. But I think we're at the point in time, especially with Bitcoin still in the 70,000 range after the lows of 16,000, that Ethereum can continue to outperform. We can have an alt season, even with Bitcoin maybe just achieving 90 or 100. Although I do believe Bitcoin does go to higher highs, it is not, the cycle is not over yet. I don't think we need Bitcoin 130,000 before we start seeing good activity out of Ethereum and altcoins.
Yeah, I mean, there's phases to the cycle. I mean, do I think that we get the parabolic phase of the alt season run where, you know, every bag is seemingly pumping 2x, 3x, 4x, 10x, you know, day in, day out? No, I don't think we get there up until Bitcoin is like above all-time highs and we're in true euphoria. But you can have moments and periods of outperformance, the altcoin market, just as Bitcoin is kind of grinding up, then consolidating, grinding a little bit higher, consolidating. So no, I mean, I'm expecting to see some strength in alts. I'm expecting to see certain sectors of altcoins outperform. We've already seen that recently with AI plays doing quite well. So yeah, I mean, absent another black swan, or God forbid, like this war dragging on for 3 months and gas staying super high, oil staying super high, man, I'm feeling quite bullish right now. Bull vibes are back.
This is also here for the government. We've talked about how Trump is negotiating with Iran. Well, it looks like the government's actually doing something as well. Big rumors are circulating that a tentative deal has been struck between the White House and U.S. lawmakers on stablecoin yield and other news. Holders Digest via Cointelegraph magazine. Why is this important? This is how you get the SAVE Act. This doesn't really apply to SAVE Act, but I think SAVE Act is important. And then you get the Clarity Act here as well, which is directly affecting the crypto markets. What do you think is going to happen here? Do we have this magical storm here in the next 8 days at the end of March, like everybody was hoping for, where you get the Clarity Act, you potentially get the SAVE Act, you get Iranian war wrapping up. What do you say?
Well, one thing I know for sure is this news around the Clarity Act apparently being 99% a done deal. That's what the senators are reporting. Tim Scott, who's been involved in negotiations really since day one, he's a senator, I think, from South Carolina, said 99% we're in agreement here with the banks and with crypto. And based on what I'm reading, it may be the case that the banks actually capitulated and said, yeah, you can earn yield on stable coins. Wow, wouldn't that be something? None of that feels priced in. None of the passage of this does not feel priced in yet to me whatsoever.
So, we got AJ West in the house saying good morning. We got Moonmutt saying let's go. Smash the like, share, and subscribe button, guys, if you haven't already. Miko Chapo in the house. Cookie Dev Bulls are back today. AJ West, we already talked about him buying more Bitcoin. Martin Max King, hello. And then Cookie Dev. Institutions are buying. Michael Saylor is buying. Diamond bottom pattern is there. Iran war is ending soon, so 94K Bitcoin soon. And for those who are just tuning in, we did show an Elliott wave theory off the lows. That does point to $79,000 Bitcoin incoming. Of course, if there isn't some kind of nuclear activity going on with Iran or bombs hitting in that country.
Appreciate you guys jumping in with the comments. Love the analysis. Good to see bulls uniting on the stream here. I hope you guys are bullish along with us. If you're bearish, well, look, the last 6 months were for you. So, I mean, you can be happy that things worked out for the last 6 months if you're a bear, but things are reversing. Things are turning around, and I think we're in a good spot. But, yeah, the Clarity Act does not feel priced in. The ending of the Iran war, I mean, will that happen in the next 8 days? Because you're talking about, okay, March. Do we get this constellation of ultra bullish events happening at the end of March? Maybe we'll see. The SAVE Act, I don't know if the SAVE Act is impactful on the markets. I mean, it's a good thing for democracy. It's a good thing for the future of the country, which I guess is overall bullish. But, you know, I don't think it's going to impact the markets one way or another. But, yeah, Clarity Act, get this Iran war done. No one's I mean, this was crazy, right? Like, if you watch the mainstream media, and thank God I've stopped doing that, you might have panic sold this, you know, some point during this war. Hell, you might have panic sold back when the terror flood was going on. The media is always giving you a reason to be extremely fearful. And when you're in that state of mind, it's very easy to sell your investments when they're bottoming out. That's never a good investment strategy, guys. If you're in blue chips, if you're in the SP 500, if you're in Bitcoin, if you're in Ethereum, if you're even in Solana, BNB, whatever, they ain't going to zero. They're going to go back up at some point. So don't panic sell the lows. I hope you guys are not following the mainstream media too much. Because oh man, I feel bad for all the retail investors out there who got scared because of, you know, World War III FUD and sold out of the lows. This thing ain't becoming World War III, and we are going higher, guys.
So many retail investors also rotated into precious metals, and it seemed like it was a horrible time. Although they can still point to, well, I sold my Bitcoin higher. Bitcoin's only 71,000. Maybe I sold it at 85, and I got involved in gold. Well, Bitcoin is up 34% against gold since the U.S.-Iran war started just 23 days ago, so your timing had to be pretty good. Bitcoin is the new safe haven asset. I don't know if I agree with that fully, but Bitcoin and Ethereum are so undervalued compared to the rest of the markets. Gold was so overvalued compared to the rest of the markets, and that's why you're seeing this counter-rotation happening again. So for all the late chasers of precious metals, well, you lost your ass. You sold your Bitcoin at 85. You're still patting yourself on the back because it's 71, but then you got involved in gold and silver at much higher prices, so if you ran the percentage, you're probably down and doing worse than if you just would have held Bitcoin from the get-go. Let's look at what gold price is doing today. $4,454, putting in a new low for the move, all the way back below our first prediction sell up here, the rotation video we did at $4,300 to $4,400 after talking about the breakout level occurring at $3,300. And we came all the way back to retest those levels. You had a wick overnight down to nearly $4,000 per ounce of gold. That is 27% off the high. I don't like extreme volatility in gold or precious metals. I like stair-stepping downwards, and I like long consolidations like this, because historically when we get long consolidations, it adds fuel to the fire for risk-on assets. It gets time for people to get bored and rotate into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other collectibles. So what do you think? Do you think we go sideways and consolidate here? Do you think we get a V-shaped recovery in gold? What is going on? So far, a $400 rally per ounce in the opening hours here on Monday, but still a $4,400 gold.
So a couple things. When gold is this volatile, it really hurts the narrative that is a safe haven. It's a hedge. It's going to protect against inflation. It's more or less stable. When you see this kind of volatility on gold and silver, really hurts that narrative. So that's first and foremost. Second, I do not believe what we're seeing now is the market realizing that Bitcoin is the new safe haven. I think it's something simpler than that. Obviously, Bitcoin being undervalued relative to everything else, that's a big part of this. But really, it comes down to gold outperforms in times of sort of economic malaise, uncertainty, and the economy just not doing that well. ISM under 50, right? That's when gold really shines. Bitcoin, on the other hand, which is still a risk asset, in my view, does well when ISM is expanding, when the economy is feeling good, when people are spending money again. And now we're not certainly in the phase of economic expansion where things feel particularly good. I'll be the first to admit that. We know the housing market is in the worst shape it's been in, who knows, 20 or 30 years. But we're at the start of it. ISM has been above 50 for a few months now. And the economy is slowly starting to open back up a bit. So I think really that's what this comes down to. You're seeing gold selling off because the economy is at the start of the next economic expansion. And you're seeing Bitcoin starting to rally outperform for that same reason. Simple as that, folks.
What's crazy is everybody was talking about gold and evangelizing gold on the way up and getting people to be buying, even though it was the largest asset in the history of mankind. And now it's crashed 23%, wiped out $8.7 trillion in the last 53 days. And I just showed you the wick overnight. It was down 27%, which would have been over $9 trillion. I know that just seems like a number nowadays. Nobody can really comprehend values or numbers or whatever it means. But let's put it this way. 9 trillion is over 4 times larger than all of crypto in existence. Yes, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, everything added together times 4 still doesn't equal the amount of money lost on gold in the past 53 days.
That is mind-boggling. That really is. And I agree. I mean, numbers start to become meaningless at those figures. But it goes back to my earlier point, which is how can you argue gold as a safe haven when it has this kind of volatility? It's no different than a Bitcoin now at this point, right? Just a lot higher valuation, less upside, but still just as much downside if you're buying the tops. So I don't know. I mean, if you're Peter Schiff, you got to be maybe starting to rethink your worldview. I don't know. I haven't seen him post in a while.
Yeah,
he's probably retreated
off
outside of, so he's no longer posting on social media right now, is he? But is what it is. I hope you guys didn't buy the top of gold because that would suck.
If the war ends soon, that's negative for gold, but not enough to offset all the positive. Plus, the government will still pay to replenish the weapons used and rebuild what is destroyed. So there will be larger deficits and more inflation than if the war had never been fought. Peter Schiff. Meanwhile, gold price is down 27% off the high, losing over $9 trillion in valuation. He says, don't worry. I know tariff inflation didn't happen. I know I told you to buy the top in golds, but when the war actually ends, you're going to have more inflation because they need to rebuild and buy more missiles. Okay, Peter. Well, next time Bitcoin has a little bit of a red candle, let's not post about that because your asset just dropped by over 4 times the entire cryptocurrency market capitalization in less than 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, and his argument, I guess, is now that gold's main value proposition is simply
war.
Well, the dollar gets devalued over time, and here's a hedge against that devaluation. Well, doesn't the S&P do a similar thing? Doesn't
10% a year.
real estate do a similar thing? Doesn't even Bitcoin do a similar thing? You could argue, obviously, with more volatility. So I don't know. I just like if that's the sole value proposition of gold now. If we only buy it because the dollar keeps going down in value, well, there's other better investments that do the same thing but with greater upside. And isn't just a shiny rock. Like, I can at least live in this house.
But you can get
Rent
gold
it out,
jewelry. You can
whatever.
get gold jewelry, Ian.
Gold jewelry. Who gives a shit, man? Like,
It is actually, a lot of people talk about the utility of gold, and the usage as far as the jewelry compared to everything else is a very small sliver of it. Like the utility for gold is a very small sliver compared to just institutional investment grade gold and gold in vaults and gold by governments, which is kind of interesting. Everybody pushes on, but gold has this utility too, this physical property. But then if you look at the numbers, it's a very small percentage of gold is actually used for any of that.
you just reminded me of a cool conspiracy theory that's probably worth mentioning again: gold versus Bitcoin. Some people were positing this as the gold was rallying and so on, but essentially this conspiracy theory alleges that China essentially went all in on gold over the past year. They were selling their U.S. treasuries because, F the dollar, F the U.S., economic warfare. We're going to sell our treasuries. We're going to buy gold. Maybe Trump was playing 4D chess the entire time. And now he's orchestrating a massive sell-off on gold through this war and other means. And next step, orchestrate a massive pump on Bitcoin, passing the Clarity Act, getting Wall Street's buy-in. And then who knows? Maybe they do find that budget-neutral way to buy Bitcoin. That's always there, ace up the sleeve. The order he made around the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve said that they can buy Bitcoin, the U.S. government can, as long as it's budget neutral. Sell a couple trillion worth of gold and a couple trillion in gold is nothing, right? We just saw a move. We just saw a $10 trillion move overnight, essentially, here in the last 50 days. Sell a trillion or two worth of gold. Use it to buy Bitcoin. Moon it 10 times. And meanwhile, we control most of the Bitcoin now. I think there's no sovereign nation that holds more Bitcoin other than the U.S.
I think China was close, but again, those numbers, I don't know if anybody, I haven't looked at those lately. I don't know if they swapped out Bitcoin for gold or what they've done with that. So China was close. Everybody else, not even close at all.
Yeah, the U.S. has the most Bitcoin. I don't know if this is Trump's plan. Is he trying to crash gold and pump Bitcoin? But I'd love to see it.
What also is nice is that the other countries that are starting to accumulate Bitcoin, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of have some of the same Western philosophy and kind of have the same MAGA philosophy that we've been talking about. Obviously, El Salvador made massive changes in their country. They're buying one Bitcoin every single day for, thousands of days now. Argentina is getting on the bandwagon a bit. You had Milei win down there. He's kind of, MAGA-ish, wanting their own culture, wanting Western civilization, wanting law and order. They're buying Bitcoin, supporting buying Bitcoin. And then you got the some of the people over in the Middle East who are more Western, not extremists, that have been utilizing and buying Bitcoin and doing Bitcoin strategic reserves and buying some Ethereum as well. So it's nice to see more like-minded countries and leaders that are the ones getting early on the bandwagon of Bitcoin. So if and when Bitcoin has success, at least that like-mindedness will still reign supreme as far as power globally, in my estimation.
Yeah, if you believe in freedom, self-sovereignty, decentralization, those are the core philosophies underpinning Bitcoin itself. Those are very Western ideals. And I think everyone watching this show would agree that those are ideals worth fighting for and worth standing by. So, to me, a long-term trend you'll see around Bitcoin in terms of like nation states is, the more, let's just call it freedom-loving types. And now that's a right coded thing now, for better or worse. Those countries are going to truly adopt Bitcoin. Meanwhile, the repressive, communistic, socialistic BS you're seeing in certain places, particularly around Europe and others, even China itself, they're going to lean towards the CBDCs, the government-controlled currencies, so they can track everything that you do, and if you don't toe the party line, they'll just suck that money right out of your wallet. That's what they can do, guys, with CBDCs. So be on the right side. Be on the side of freedom. Be on the side of Bitcoin.
We got oil prices down to $89 per barrel, below that magical $90 mark. Let's see how long it takes for the gas stations to reduce their prices, huh? They did. I will say when all the war started, the immense volatility, whatever, a lot of gas stations did delay raising prices of gas by about a week. So they waited. They let the price settle, and then they adjust on the fly there. But it is nice to see oil below that magical $90 mark to $89.19 per barrel. Let's see if there's follow through on these peace negotiations with Iran, and how fast and how low do you think oil would drop if the Iranian war, truly, no strings attached, was ended? Now, it's easier said than done. Do you think we get back into the 70s nearly immediately if that were to happen?
I mean, it's going to come down to Strait of Hormuz, right? So, and I don't know how the Iranians are going to react to everything in the negotiations and so on, and what they ultimately, all sides agree on. But you got to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened. Assuming that happens, and it's a sustainable thing, and last I saw that like Iran was like, you can ship through Strait of Hormuz, but you got to pay us $2 million. I don't think that's going to fly with anyone. But anyway, so get the Strait of Hormuz opened up. I think oil's going to crash. Absolutely. It's going to go back to 70s or wherever it was before, maybe even lower. So I'm not super worried about it. I guess it's kind of like the only wild card on this whole thing, because I think Trump is a more rational actor. Trump is impacted by the bond market. He's impacted by the stock market. He's impacted by politics. Oil prices. I mean, these are all weighing on his decisions, I'm sure. Also national security stuff. But the Iranian regime, that's not a democratic regime. They're not like worried about what the population says. They're murdering people still. They murdered like a 19-year-old wrestler. I don't know if you saw that news. I don't know why the media wasn't reporting more on that. But they don't care about what their population says. I don't know what they care about. So they're the wild card. It's like, how do they react to everything, and then what ultimately do these negotiations lead to with the Strait of Hormuz? But I trust Trump to ultimately come to the right decisions here and do the right things. It's the Iranian regime that I'm a little bit more worried about. So we'll have to wait and see, guys.
AJ West says Michael Saylor buy just a small fraction the past week compared to the week before. Past week he spent $76 million buying at a price of $75,000. The week before he spent $1.28 billion at a price of $70,946. Is he now trying to actually buy more at lower prices? I think he just wants to keep buying regardless, and he thinks that the low is already in or near in, and it's really a function of how much money can Stretch generate. That $1.2 billion, they probably had some cash sitting around, and Stretch was new to the market, meaning extra volume, extra volatility, more fees generated for Bitcoin buys. Well, now that it is launched, volumes are going to go down. And now that Bitcoin price is pretty much in the same range, volumes go down. So it's going to be a little thinner margins as far as how much Bitcoin they're getting to buy. But nonetheless, they keep earning money from MicroStrategy, from Stretch, and they just keep buying more Bitcoin at whatever price it is. And seemingly they're just like, don't care if they think it's a short-term top, short-term bottom. Doesn't matter, because ultimately they think Bitcoin $250,000 million a coin. So none of the prices down here really matter.
Yeah, that's the realization I've come to when looking at Michael Saylor's buys. He just buys whenever he's got money to buy. It's just like there's no like buy the dip. There's no like let's be a trader and try to time the market. He's just like, we have money now, we're buying. I don't care if it's 60, 70, 80, 100, 120. I mean, he was buying all the way to the top. And he'll do it again as long as he's got money coming in. So, that's just how he operates. Very different than like Tom Lee, by the way, who over at BitMine, they're a lot more, I think, strategic with their buys, which is probably a good thing. But this Stretch product, man, like I think people are completely underestimating the potential of how much Bitcoin it can result in. It be, accumulation of Bitcoin. The product just launched like 6 months ago, and it seemingly just really only took off in terms of traction. But there is no other product on the market that is like a fixed income product that is generating these kind of annual returns, over 11% annual returns, which is paid out monthly, not taxable, apparently, or tax deferred or something like that. What other fixed income type product is coming even close to that? You got trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars sloshing around these markets, guys. I mean, how much capital got effed over and stuck in these private credit funds just trying to chase like 10%, 8% in an illiquid investment that they're now can't get their money out?
We got Dovahkiin late to the party here, but we got more breaking news from Michael Saylor that we need to show right now. If you own MicroStrategy or Stretch, maybe it doesn't help you that much, but if you own Bitcoin, well, he wants to keep buying. We've been talking about it. Strategy announces a new $21 billion Stretch ATM program and a new $21 billion MicroStrategy ATM program. Essentially, this means that they can sell up to 21 billion shares of each asset with the goal of raising funds to do what? Buy more Bitcoin. So there will be some dilution in the actual shareholder price, and I'm sure this is going to cause some volatility, but maybe that's smart because more volatility, more trading volume on Stretch does what? Produces more fees and buys even more Bitcoin. Ultimately, though, if you believe Bitcoin is going to higher prices and he buys $42 billion more of it, and Bitcoin goes to, say, 71,000 to 150,000, well, your dilution as a shareholder will be more than made up for in the price going up to the moon with Bitcoin based on how much Bitcoin holdings you hold. So we keep talking about Michael Saylor just gets money magically and buys Bitcoin, and now we just released this. Up to $42 billion more dollars coming to keep the businesses afloat and buy more Bitcoin.
At some point, the Bears, I think, are going to run out of Bitcoin to sell, won't they? I mean, good Lord, this guy's he's a madman. I love to see it. I absolutely love to see it. But, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't bet against this guy. I wouldn't bet against Wall Street. And, you know, there's so many of these firms now doing similar stuff, right? It's not just Michael Saylor. And obviously they have a unique approach and sort of unique products. But, you know, we just had last week, I think, Morgan Stanley, which is like $6 trillion under management or something, saying, okay, we're gonna create our own Bitcoin ETF or a similar structured product to what Michael Saylor's doing. You have the likes of, I believe, Strike doing something similar. You have so many of these institutional plays now getting into Bitcoin. But if Michael Saylor gets that 5% of the total supply, he's saying Bitcoin is going to $1 million if he gets to the 5%. Is there some sort of calculation behind that, or what is behind those numbers, and do you buy into that? I hope it's true.
I mean, he's broke it down a lot in shows, but normally before he gets into that, he does his little patented deep breath sigh because he goes on a big tangent. So I would have to really watch it a couple times, do the math to see what that number is, or if that's just kind of a guesstimation, kind of like Thomas Lee with their prediction. If they get their 6 million ETH, which is 5%, they believe price will be XYZ. So I think if he gets 5%, then the question is what's next? Somebody like this who is frantically buying Bitcoin up to get to 5% of the total supply, the entire business, his entire umbrella of multiple businesses now is all around buying Bitcoin. So when you finally achieve 5%, what do? Are you able to like sit on your hands? It's like the crackhead who finally finishes up his crack, but he needs more crack. Like he needs more Bitcoin. Like what does he do after he gets the 5%, I guess is the biggest question. Or does he say, well, that was just 5% for MicroStrategy. Now we can get 1% for Stretch. We can get 1% for my new project. Like I just don't know what a guy like that does once he finally achieves that goal of 5%. The company has to do something to stay relevant, stay hype, and keep going up and to the right. Correct? I don't know.
Yeah, he's never going to be done. He'll find a way to buy more Bitcoin. But I think in that same tweet or it was an interview or something, I think he said if he gets to like 7%, or maybe it was 10% or something, then it's going to 10 million a coin. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love what he's doing. I'm not complaining. I do not own any of his products, by the way, but I do own Bitcoin. I do hold spot Bitcoin, and I'm loving to see it, man. I'm loving to see it. And for anyone bears out there, like, are you really betting against this guy? Like, what? Are you nuts? Why? How? This makes no sense. Why would you sell now? Anyone looking to sell Bitcoin today, I want to have you on the show. Come on the show and give me a cogent argument, an intelligent argument why it is wise to sell Bitcoin at this moment in time. And I'm not talking about if you're looking to buy back in an hour.
Yeah, not talking about traders. Talking about traders, though. The
guy who's like, all right, I'm getting out. Like I got 10 grand in Bitcoin. I'm selling it all today. What? You got to watch the show if you're thinking about doing that.
Talking about traders, why retail has seemingly vanished. It isn't really by choice. It's by proxy. The markets are down, and they have been liquidated. Crazy news, the top 250 pump fund deployers extracted $79 million from the trenches, deployed 194,000 tokens, 1,100 tokens per day in the last 6 months, produced only 10 tokens with a 5 million plus market cap. Here's the full list. This is why the trenches is so hard. You get these good projects creating altcoins, and they can run things up to 5 million, 1 million, 10 million. Out of 194K tokens, these extractors, these devs, only produce 10 tokens with 5 million plus market cap. I mean, shit. Surf token went to 4 million market cap on Pulse Chain during a bear market. It just shows you these guys are putting in zero effort. Their effort ends at create a website, create a token ticker, deploy the contract, and try to extract. What are your thoughts on this? We knew that Pump Fund as a platform was extracting $1 billion+ from Solana and from crypto markets. But it seems that most of the devs, most of the tokens being launched, 194,000 tokens just in the past 6 months of bear market, extracting $79 million. It's wild because that means there's probably only 1,000 good tokens actually launched on the platform. And that's how many they were launching per day.
What happens in the Pump Fund trenches is essentially just scammers all trying to scam each other, and whoever can scam quicker wins. It's really a toxic place, man. It's really a terrible place. And as far as I can tell, there are no normies, there are no non-professionals playing in that space right now. It's just professionals. Either they're creating tokens and bundling, and they're the dev. I love what we call them, devs. They didn't dev shit. But in any event, it's either the creators scamming people, or it's someone buying in super quick with different tools and trying to scam the next guy who's buying in a second later with other tools. There are no normies left in the Pump Fund trenches. And why would there be? This is what's going on over there, right? It's just madness. It's insanity. And to anyone who's like in there, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? And then I see also people on socials, like they're boosting these people. They're like they're happy. They're like they're applauding the devs, quote unquote devs, who are launching all these tokens. I remember back in the day when it was extremely frowned upon if you were a founder or a dev or whatever to even have two tokens, two projects that you were working on at the same time. Like, that was a big no-no. So we've fallen from a very far place. It's really a shame what's happening in Solana. The good news is my hope is a utility season will come back. The SEC rules clarifying some of this stuff is going to be helpful. We need normies to come back, and let's change the trenches. Why can't we have projects that actually run, communities that rally around tokens, utility that comes back? We need that. We need that in this space, man.
Yeah, and this is on Solana. Over on Pulse Chain, you have Pump.tires, but a lot of the same thing is happening. Not a lot of the projects over there graduate, and the ones that do graduate, there's very few really good ones, partially due to the bear market, but partially due to these type of platforms breed that type of behavior. Now, the nice thing about Pump.tires, at least that platform isn't extracting. It's passing on a lot of those gains into the network itself via PLS locks and PLSX burns, but nonetheless, a lot of the same thing. Quick fly-by-night projects, little community, little utility leads to more money being funneled and extracted from the normies. We do have Cookie Dev in the house saying Smart Sentinels cooking a utility to keep you safe on Pump. And Martin Max King saying that's why we have better meme platforms. I think the meme platform that Martin Max King might be talking about is this one, Vibes.fun. This is kind of your thing here. You shared it with me to talk about on the show. So if you want to kind of give me an update and the Crypto Paradise community an update on what is going on here, now that we just talked about Pump Fun and how extractive it is, Pump Tires and that it's not extractive but still breeds just these devs who are fly-by-night just launching coins to launch them. What is going on with Vibes.fun? What makes it different? Why should people begin to look at it? And why should people try to be early, as it only has 11.8K followers currently?
Yeah, man, bullish on Vibes Fun. What I really like about this one, first of all, on Pump Fun, they don't even bother making websites. They don't even bother opening Telegram communities. They don't even bother opening Twitters. I mean, it's really just insulated to that Pump Fun ecosystem, and you're just using tools to gamble on. Oh, you see which one has more volume. It's like, okay, this one's got volume, like, go all in. And then, like, try to get out real quick. People are holding coins for a matter of seconds now on Pump Fun. So it's a real toxic. It's not for actual crypto investors. It's just for people who have the specialized tools and want to gamble over there in Pump Fun. Vibes Fun is a little bit different, because what it allows you to do is, using its AI creator technology that underpins it, you can actually launch a website. You can automatically launch its own Twitter. You can start building a community around a meme that you're creating on Vibes Fun. But instead of, you don't have to pay a website designer. You don't have to pay for hosting. You don't have to go through all that complexity. The Vibes Fund platform itself allows you to essentially vibe code your own meme into existence. And so, in doing that, my hope is you actually will able to see, and this brings back that more community side of memes. Cool websites, cool narratives, actual communities. And it can all be done very fast and very cheap through its platform. It also has some cool innovations on top of it. I believe the amount of funds you need, or the market cap that a token needs to hit in order to graduate, is lower. So the barrier to entry is a little bit lower too. And they have some really cool features which essentially allow you to, I want to say, bet on whether a actual like famous person within crypto or even outside of crypto adopts, or let's just call it attaches themselves to a particular meme and to a particular Twitter that gets created. So through Vibes Fund. So very cool. There's a lot of innovation happening, but my hope is it spurs on some more genuine meme vibes, not this real scammy, let's just, hold for 1 second and then sell the token stuff that you're seeing on Pump Fund.
What's crazy here, too, is it looks like Vibes.Fund has partnered with Smart Sentinels to bring AI-powered security audits to every token on Vibes.Fund. So Smart Sentinels, even though they are still pre-token launch, already out here making partnerships with new up-and-coming AI products and crypto and traditional products as well. That is really cool to see that these two are already working together, and now we can talk about both of them.
Yeah, man, both backed by Pools Ventures, which is the venture arm of Pools Finance the Launchpad, which, as you know, we're working closely with. So we connected these teams. They're able to form a partnership, a genuine, integration, which is great to see. But, both projects, Smart Sentinels and Vibes Fund, are examples of the kind of projects that Pools Ventures is looking to back. Strong teams, real product, market fit, and then also very strong token economics. So more news dropping here on Vibes Fund soon. I think their token is launching, or excuse me, their product is launching on mainnet this week. So you'll be able to go on Vibes Fund, create a meme, create a website, build a community, and launch a real coin using Vibes Fund, all using AI just through their platform. So really cool stuff. Excited for that one. And perhaps all of this is the reason why the Pools token's pumping. I don't know.
Yeah, we saw massive green candles coming out yesterday. Nonetheless, Pool X has already been up since Crypto Paradise got involved. Now up 67% since we got you guys involved with it. And really, there hasn't been much raises going on yet. And there hasn't been many opportunities there yet due to market conditions and projects kind of getting onboarded into the Pools ecosystem. Well, now you have Smart Sentinels, you got Vibes.Fund, you have Noia, you have so many other opportunities that are just around the corner, and it seems like people are trying to load up on PoolX to make sure they get their slice of the pie that they deserve and they desire. Even though liquidity is still thin in the markets, you still want to position yourself in PoolX or in the Surf token to be prepared for when the market gets better. You do have the funds, so you can take full advantage of new opportunities coming to the crypto space.
Absolutely. Love to see this. Looks like a 30% move on the PoolX token overnight. I think a couple reasons. One, investors are wisening up. They're seeing the writing on the wall. Hey, a bull market is coming, and I'm positioning, I'm buying these Launchpad tokens early before the masses come in. So you're getting some smart people positioning for that. The other thing too is a lot of the, let's call it old school launch pads, the ones that were very popular in prior cycles, and Pools obviously big part of that. I mean, it's a top 3 launch pad if you look at the metrics over the past 5-6 years since it's launched. But a lot of the other old school launch pads are closing up shop or have already closed up shop. I mean, think about the likes of PokeStarter. That's been dead. DAOmaker, I think, is long dead too. And I just heard the other day that a launchpad called Decubate may also be closing up shop. I don't know if that's for a fact, so I don't want to go out here on the stream and say that's a fact. But possibly, probably, I mean, if you didn't manage your finances properly and you had too much overhead around the business, I mean, no launch pads have made money in the past like 6 to 12 months. So I think a lot will have gone out of business. Pools is just ramping back up. Okay? You look at the amount of activity happening on pools right now. The Noya raise is ongoing. The projects that Pools Ventures is backing. There's been partnership announcements with a host of VCs over the past month or so. And of course, Crypto Paradise now coming on board to do what we do on the marketing side. Pools ain't slowing down. Meanwhile, these other launch pads are shutting down. And so I think that's why the token is pumping, folks.
I would agree there, and it's really nice to see. And what's crazy is you see Pools and some of these other platforms with how many followers they had, and just reminds you of the glory days of crypto interest for retail adoption. And I do think those retailers are still there, whether they've been shaken fully out, whether they just have crypto assets that are worth a lot less, so nobody's talking about it, nobody's active in it, nobody's DCAing in it because they don't see the opportunity. Retail adoption was still very small for crypto, even in the last bull cycle. If we can get retail adoption back to where it was and start ramping up like we're seeing in Pokemon, collectibles, One Piece, there is millions of people that are interested in getting involved with things that give them a good vibe and give them a chance to make money. They just have to see the light, they have to see the green candles, and they have to see the vibes. And I think all that time is coming back.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like those 280,000 people, like, they all died. They just probably are a bit checked out right now. They're not paying attention to crypto because there isn't really money to be made unless you're just like an insane maniac who wants to spend like all day trying to figure it out. But for the casual person who's like got a job and a family and, you know, real life, they're not going to be paying attention to crypto right now. I'm sorry to say. But here's what will happen when the market turns bullish again. They'll come back into crypto and they'll check crypto Twitter and they'll check their Telegram and they'll see which platforms and which communities stayed active, built more products, stayed progressing, added utility, partnerships, community growth, all those things. And then they'll gravitate towards the ones that remained active. So that's why Pools, I think, is perfectly positioned for the remainder of this bull cycle because folks will come back, they'll look around, they'll say, oh shit, all the other launch pads that I used to be familiar with are gone, but Pools isn't. They've actually strengthened themselves. And they're doing things even better than they used to do. So if I want to get back involved in pre-sales and trying to hunt for the next 10x opportunity with the refund protection still in play, mind you, there is no other choice other than Pools. So yeah, I'm feeling very bullish about the future. We got a lot cooking, a lot more in store. It's not just like, oh, we're just resting on our laurels now and happy with a 20% pump. Like, no. I said when we, took over as, leading the Pools platform, that a $10 million market cap for the token was like my base case. Was like, we should easily be able, that was a conservative target. Mind you, the all-time high on the PoolX token is something like $200 or $300 million market cap. So I'm just talking about like 10 million is possible. And that's at 10 times from this current price, by the way. And if we go insane and the bull market's crazy bullish for any number of reasons, no reason Pools couldn't hit 20 million, 50 million, even 100 million market cap on the token. So yeah, I'm feeling good, happy to see the pump. And I guess I'm just not surprised given the activity levels and then comparing it to the other pads, which are all dying.
Yeah, we talked a lot about who's buying Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor's buying Bitcoin and wants to buy $42 billion of Bitcoin, apparently. Well, just in 11 minutes ago, BitMine Immersion bought another 65,341 Ethereum. Are you bullish on ETH? Nobody's talking about BitMiner, nobody's talking about SharpLink Gaming, nobody's talking about Coinbase, but slowly they just managed to find more money, even though the market conditions aren't great. We have war fears globally, and somehow they're buying Ethereum by the thousands, taking all of that and staking it up. It takes 45 days to get staked. They're taking all the rewards and they're compounding it with more ETH. And if they do want to unstake it, it takes another 45 days. So you guys will have plenty of time to react to that. That's pretty bullish to see that BitMiner says, okay, hang on, MicroStrategy. We're finding a way to make some money and we're buying all the Ethereum we can as well. While SharpLink Gaming is remaining somewhat dormant, only buying a little bit here and there. Coinbase is dormant, only buying a little bit here and there. BitMine's trying to keep their throne and trying to accumulate that 5% of Ethereum. And they're still 1.5 million ETH away from doing so. They still got to buy 1.5 million more ETH, just one company. That's crazy.
Well, here's how it always works, regardless of asset class. Retail does not get excited until at or around all-time highs. They don't get excited until you get month after month of pumping and green candles. They don't get excited around accumulation phases. They don't get excited when prices are bottoming out and reversing for the first time in 6 or 8 months. So am I surprised that no one's talking about it? Am I surprised that retail's not here and they're still, doom scrolling and worried about World War III or whatever? No, I'm not surprised at all. But if they watch this show, as you guys should all watch this show, everyone should watch this show if they're into crypto, they would know that Hex Bull told them 65K was the bottom and that 90 is coming. And it feels good to be aligned with Hex Bull. We weren't aligned with him for a while because he was bearish and we were still bullish because we're perma bulls. But now even the bears are getting bullish. The smart bears have now turned bullish, and Hex Bull's made a lot of money in this market. So I would listen to what he has to say.
Bitcoin and Ethereum higher. Bitcoin to 71,300. Oil down cheaper, back down to $88 a barrel. Gold down cheaper. Everything's trending in the right direction for what we like to see and for our portfolio. Bitminers buying more Ethereum. MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. Now we need SharpLink Gaming and other ones to jump on board and continue buying to get the FOMO going. And we'll have an ISM reading here coming soon, I believe. Will we be higher than the 52.4 print that we had last month? That's what we're hoping for. As ISM expansion continues, historically, that's when Bitcoin, Ethereum, and collectibles all want to expand as well.
Here is the bullish scenario that no one is talking about. Everyone's so worried about Iran war, oil prices skyrocketing, inflation coming back, and the Fed having to raise the rates. Sell everything. Fed might raise the rates. No one's talking about the possibility of Iran war ending, oil crashing, inflation going back down, Fed cutting rates, big beautiful bill refunds. Apparently, Americans are looking at $3,000 or more in refund checks coming out here between now and the end of May. And ISM number continue to print higher and a glorious bull market resulting from all of this. Why is no one talking about that possibility? Am I saying that it's guaranteed to happen? No. But if you're looking at probabilities here, you'd have to admit that there's at least if your doomsday scenario is in play, don't you have to admit that the ultra bullish scenario is at least equally as possible? All it takes is Trump ending the war, right? So I don't know. Anyone who's looking to sell right now, oh, I'm scared. World War III. Oil's going to be $1 million a barrel. Sell all my investments. Sell all the Bitcoin. Meanwhile, here's Michael Saylor buying a bunch. Tom Lee's buying all the ETH. Clarity Act, apparently 99% chance it gets passed according to the insiders who are involved in those negotiations, with stable coin yield still a possibility and in play. I don't know, man. At least 50% chance of the bullish scenario playing out here, folks. I would not sell right now if you're a long-term investor.
We got Darius in the house saying, hey there, how's the weather in crypto paradise? Well, it's been a little chilly, but it's starting to warm up here. Good to see you back in the live show. And hopefully things are warming up over on Pulse Chain as well. For the last 24 hours, we do have PLS up 1.5%, PLSX up 0.3%, Inc up 3.3%, and Hex up 0.59%. So even though it's not as big a green candles as Ethereum, there is still green over on Pulse Chain as well, making some of our other altcoin investments green as well. Peacock up 2.5%, PTGC up 1.08%, and Surf up 0.1% on the day. So green is green. You got to start somewhere. I like to see that activity. ProveX, we've been following with that. Launched at zero, essentially. Ran as high as 200 million market cap. And right now is at $122 million market cap. Looking like having a very much similar chart to that of Bitcoin. ABC correction, and now looking like it wants to start 5 waves up to new all-time highs. Let's see if that happens.
Yeah, very impressive launch for ProveX. Happy to see that. Good, I think, for the Pulse Chain ecosystem. Highly undervalued L1 that hasn't even had a bull market really to support its price. So let's see what happens when the market finally turns bullish for alts. How well does Pulse Chain do in Pulse Chain assets? But you asked about the weather, Darius. So where I'm at is still. Oh, yesterday was actually really nice, but today it got rainy and cold again. Spring is kind of weird where I'm at. But I will be back in Tulum, Mexico at the Paradise Ped in approximately 1 month from now. Reminder that all Crypto Paradise DAO members, you guys get a free vacation to Tulum, Mexico. You can stay at the Paradise Pad for free. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your wife, bring your kids. No one else is doing this. No other channel is giving away in real life experiences like this. And I just really want someone. I know everybody's broke and poor and scared. I get it. But someone out there who's maybe a little bit less broke, a little bit less scared, and a little bit willing to take a flight. It's not a difficult flight, guys. Flying to Cancun. Do some research. I bet you where you live, I don't care if you're in Europe, I don't care if you're in the States, you're in South America somewhere, maybe Asia's a little bit trickier. But if you're in most parts of the world, there are direct flights into Cancun. Out of UK, Poland, Spain, I mean, pretty much everywhere in the EU, there's direct flights to Cancun. And then you're an hour drive to the Paradise Pad. So take us up on the free vacation, folks. I promise you, all the other streamers you're listening to, the people who are streaming along right now with us, Randy Hipper, she's not giving away any free vacations.
Yeah, I will say I have been there a couple times. I fly directly into Tulum's airport itself now, which I'm sure some of you guys can do as well. And it's like a 20-minute drive from that airport with the rental. You get into the condo. You can walk to many places. 7-Eleven is within walking distance, the cafe, whatever. But then you're like a 10-minute drive to any of the beach clubs. You just go to the beach clubs. You forget that you're even there. The day flies by. You go back to the condo and you go to bed. So that's pretty much what we did when we went there. We go to the beach. You get some drinks. You're like, holy cow, I'm a little hot. You go back to the condo. Maybe you get in the pool. Maybe you don't. You turn on Netflix on that smart TV. You go to bed and you do it all over again the next day.
It's called paradise, guys. It's called absolute paradise. And yeah, if you bring the wife, you bring the kids, you'll notice that everyone is just instantly more relaxed there. You're not worried about work. You're not worried about this, that, the other. The biggest worry that I ever have when I'm down there is, where am I going to go get dinner tonight? You know, what should I do for dinner? That's like the biggest thing in your mind. So if you're worried about the market, about this, that, the other, take a vacation on Crypto Paradise. Head down to the Paradise Pad. The weather's beautiful down there now. I'll be down there end of April. I'm going to go for my birthday. So I just wanted, because you mentioned, Darius, you asked about the weather. It reminded me to go on that little tangent about the Paradise Pad. I want people to take advantage of it. That's all.
I think we kind of covered everything for the day. Let's see what's going on Telegram. My notifications have been blowing up. A lot of them are for Pool X and Pools groups. So we'll see. It seems like projects are having communication. Projects are wanting to launch. Projects are wanting some marketing. And projects are wanting to provide an opportunity to those who tune into Crypto Paradise. Whether you hold the Pool X token or the Surf token, that's how you get involved in these early opportunities. Will they all do 100Xs right away? Maybe, maybe not. But good projects that are launching near the lows have a lot easier trek than those who are launching at the back end of a bull market.
Yeah, man. It's good to see activity back on Telegram and Twitter and stuff. I'm telling you guys, like, the sentiment, we're in the trenches, not the pump fund trenches where people are just scamming each other, in milliseconds. But we're in the actual crypto trenches, 24/7. This has been our jobs and our lives for 8 years. I can tell you when the sentiment is shifted. I can tell you when things are getting a little bit more bullish and risk on. And I'm telling you, over the past 2 weeks, that's the feeling. That's the vibe. Is it full-on bull market mania? No, of course not. But the shift has happened. The shift has absolutely happened for us professionals in the crypto space. So for anyone who's a retailer, you're watching, you're learning, this is a great time to get positioned. I think things are really about to turn around and get bullish over the next few months.
Anything else you want to say before the final send-off here?
No, this is a great show. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And until next time, guys, we'll see you on the beach.